Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Abundant Thinking. I'm your host, Elon Gelfand. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just know that this is getting redistributed for my podcast. It's going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Amazon Music, as well as Pandora Music. Today, we are talking about something that I've been having more and more experiences of, and that's the fact that rare opportunities and opportunities that seem like they're very hard and difficult to get are not as hard and they're not as rare to come across as you think. Alex Hormozi says once in a lifetime opportunities happen every 6 months, like if you work very hard. And I get where this is coming from, and I want to put the definition aside, right? Technically, by definition, once in a lifetime means it only happens once in a lifetime, so it can't happen every 6 months. But we're going to say, for the sake of this episode, just bear with me. When I say once in a lifetime, I just mean rare opportunities that you wouldn't think you would have gotten, like, ever. I think this also aligns with the conversation and the episode that I have on luck, and the fact that, over time I've realized very successful people are very lucky. And they say the same thing. They say it's all about luck. But luck is controllable. You can put yourself in a good position to get lucky just by doing the thing over and over again, right? I never thought I would have guests on this podcast that are very well established, that have, hundreds of thousands of followers, that make hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. But here I am. And the only reason that happened was because I gave it a try and I stayed consistent and I reached out to people, right? A lot of people will attribute, success or things like this to luck, but a different kind of luck. They'll think, oh, this guy he gets it all. He has it. Like, he's just one of those people that can do the thing, get lucky, and just succeed while doing it. And let those people do that, because they're going to stay cynical for their entire lives. So, of course that person has that. He's like this, right? People are always quick to assume that you just are lucky and you have it that way, but the results that you're wanting to get are in the work that you're avoiding, if that makes sense, in my opinion. Going back to my example with reaching out to people don't see how much you do something. They don't see how many times people don't respond, right, to reach out. They don't see how many times people say no. They don't see the times they might deny something because it doesn't align with what you want, who you are, etc. They only see the times they come on the podcast, right? And it makes sense. I'm not discrediting it at all. It completely makes sense, because it's not like I'm showing you guys all the behind the scenes, and I don't want you guys to have to deal with all that stuff, because, to be honest, that's the boring stuff that nobody wants to do, nobody wants to talk about, just to try to get to this more exciting part of having these people on my podcast, getting new ideas, etc. Chances that seem very rare are easier to come across than you guys might think, right? If you have something that you really want, you can think of steps to how you'll get it and how you can increase your chances of getting it to begin with. For example, if you are going for a job interview and you're very nervous because you want this job so much and it's everything you've ever dreamed of, you should prepare a lot for the interview and just try to know how to answer questions, right? And I say this is a pretty basic example, but just to try to drive the point home, the fact that, if you get the job because you spent 2 hours every day the past 2 weeks practicing how you're going to say things, what you're going to say, compared to the person who didn't practice at all, and you end up getting the job, then of course people are going to say, oh, he's lucky. Oh, maybe he knows somebody in the company. That's how he got the job. But no, you worked so hard for it, but nobody saw it, right? And people are going to think, and you might even think to yourself, oh, wow, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. That's a 1 in a million chance of that happening. Well, the thing is, once you start thinking of ways to how you can get the thing, you start slimming your chances down, right? It's a 1 in a million chance to see, I don't know, Gary Vee, for example. He's an influencer, for those of you guys that don't know. To see Gary Vee in the grocery store, that's just pure luck. You can't control that. But having, a conversation with him or getting him on your podcast, there are ways to make it easier for yourself, right? You reach out to him. You might, like, even if you take it to the extreme, right? You apply to his company, or you reach out to somebody on his team that's under him and say, hey, can I interview you first? And then from there, you become friends with the guy, and then he introduces you to Gary. You know what I mean? There's ways to get through things. And for the people that really want to, they do, right? People are the same. Like, everybody's born the same, but yet they turn out so differently for a number of reasons, right? This is not like a psychology discussion, but I'm saying you have a choice if you're going to walk around and be pessimistic, or if you're going to be optimistic about things, right? And, I've had experiences in my life that I could just look at the world terribly with, and I could just say, oh, this thing happened, so I'm never going to be like this, or I can't do this. But you get to choose whether you're going to be happy in the morning, or you're going to be, angry or mad at somebody. So why not choose to be happy? Why not treat the world as an opportunity to do things? And for those of you guys saying, oh, well, in the past, this thing hasn't worked for me, this thing hasn't worked out in the way that I want it to be. Well, maybe you didn't do the things that you should have done. And there's caveats to this, of course. I'm not saying this is the end all be all, but I'm saying maybe there's something that you should have done, or maybe you should have gotten more reps in the thing. I mean, if you were to ask me 10 episodes into this podcast how I'm doing, it wouldn't be the same as right now. I'm, 65 episodes in, 60, whatever it is. It's because I have the repetitions. I keep doing the thing. So I get the results I want because I stay consistent. I do the thing. I don't give up. And I don't want to be like, oh, what is it? Like the hustle culture. Oh, I'm grinding. I'm doing all these things. No, but I'm really taking the time to actually learn. I don't pretend to learn things. On my phone the other day, I put a note that's going to stay there for a long time, and it says, focus on actually learning the things in front of you. When I'm listening to a podcast, I don't want to do it to be productive. I want to do it so I can learn things. And that's how I try to treat the world. I try to make sure I learn things and do things to the best of my ability. And funny enough, doing that allows new chances to come up and opportunities to arise that way, because I've done the thing to prepare for it. I remember I had to do a presentation. I'm in a business organization. I had to do a presentation for a position that I wanted within the organization. And what I did is I practiced. I remember I started 4 or 5 days before I had to do the actual presentation. And I practiced probably 10, 15 times a day. And sometimes even just like by time. So sometimes it was 10 to 15 times a day for this presentation. Some days it'd just be like, okay, I'm just going to do this for an hour. It was a pretty short presentation, but I did it for 5 days in a row. That's it. Nothing crazy, just 5 days in advance of me practicing the thing. And I remember hearing, I'm not going to say my competition, but the people that were also running for the same position, they were like, yeah, I'm a little nervous. I practiced a couple of times. Like, I'm feeling okay. I was like, oh my God, like, I get that confidence. I've done this thing so many times. I've practiced. I'm going to do so good. And if I don't, that's okay. Maybe I didn't even practice it enough. Maybe I see, I started right here. How can I work on this? Just because I got 40 reps in, for example, even though I didn't. Okay, we're going to make this more realistic. Just because I got 100, maybe 75 to 100 reps of this presentation in, and somebody else got 5, doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to do better than them, because they might just be a better public speaker. They might have things that they're better than me at. But I'm gonna be pretty good at that presentation, I'll tell you that. And I blew them out of the water. I mean, people were coming out to me, people were texting me, and they're saying, wow, your public speaking skills, I can't even public speak now. I mean, look at this. Your public speaking skills have gotten so much better. Oh my God, you killed that presentation. Like, it looked so natural. Of course it looked natural. I did it 75 times. That was a 76. That was just an extra rep. For people that practice the presentation 3 times, the 4th one makes up 25% of the presentations they've ever tried. So of course they're going to be nervous about it. Oh my God, this is going to be my 4th try. The first 3, they went okay. So maybe I'll get lucky somehow and this presentation will do good. And then, okay, the presentation went okay for me. That went okay. But for me, this will be my 76th time, just for example, right? I've done this countless times. It's like, I know what I'm going to say. I know the jokes that I'm going to say. I know how I'm going to say it. I know the pauses I'm going to take, how long it's going to take me. And it's funny because, the things you don't even notice. Okay, I needed it to be a 3-minute long presentation. I went from 4 minutes to 3 minutes 50 seconds, and then it went down to 3 minutes. I got it down compared to other people who were, some were a little bit short on time, some were a little bit over time. So the reps allowed me to win the thing without even thinking. It's like, I don't have to be nervous. I didn't walk in. Everybody, the people I was going up against were tightened up, and they're like, I'm nervous, and a lot of people there are like 60 people listening to us. But for me, I'm like, I'm not nervous. Why would I be nervous? I've done this so many times. If I failed, it's on me, but I can see the mistake that I made. It is what it is. All these reps aren't going to guarantee my success, but I'll tell you, they'll give me a pretty good chance of getting the thing that I want. It's the same thing with reaching out to people for my podcast episodes. I reach out to people, so many of them don't respond, but the people that do, you guys get to see them. I get to have a conversation, build some rapport with them, and I love it. Every single person I've had on this show, they've been such great people. I've talked to them, before we started recording, after, even outside of recording. It's been such a good opportunity for me to be able to connect to people that are doing good. And the only reason I was able to do it was because I put myself in the situation to do it in the first place. I gave myself that 1 in a million chance of it happening. You're never going to have this guy on your podcast. You're not going to have him on your podcast. Well, I'm going to reach out to 100 people just like him, and we'll see if anybody responds. And, this person responded. This guy looks cool. And, maybe it'll even be someday the person that you never thought would come on my show is going to come on my show, right? Somebody that you're like, why are you, no offense, why are you reaching out to them? They're pretty big. They're up there. Why would he really want you? Well, it's worth a shot, isn't it? Why not? If you never try, you're never going to know. And that's something I live by. And I love it so much because it's very true. It's easy to complain about the thing you never got because you never tried. But when you're actually doing the thing and putting the reps in, you don't complain about not getting your ultimate goal. You're like, okay, how can I just increase my reps? How can I make this one thing better and tweak it? And even on the last episode, last week that I talked about, I said, failure is just a misdirection. It's not the end all be all. You put your wheels off track, you steer to the left, you get back on the road, and you're good. You're good. You're back on track. Fail in silence. That's what the last episode was called. There's just failing in silence, not telling anybody the things that you're going to do. A great episode. I'll check it out. Easy for me to say that, right? But yeah, it is so important for you guys to know the fact that these crazy chances, like, oh my God, how did that person do that thing, are not as hard as they look. And take it from somebody like me. I'm just a normal guy. I'm literally the most normal guy. I'm recording this episode in my dorm room with my roommate's stuff behind me. My desk right here, if you guys see, like, it's not against the wall. It's pretty much like a floating desk. Like, it's in the middle of the room, guys. I'm a normal person. And if I can get to the point where I'm at and actually have this mindset that I want to do better and I want to achieve the things that I say I will, you guys can do the same thing. I promise you guys. I promise you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. It's been awesome. This has been Abundant Thinking. I'm your host, Elon Gelfand. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon if you're on YouTube. If you're listening to this on a podcast, same thing, follow. Make sure to give this show a 5 stars if you think it deserves it. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much and have a great Tuesday, guys.